Hey there friends, so last week I made this tri-square and I used pre-dimensioned box store lumber. Great project for a beginner, easy to do, just get your bridle joint in there. This week I took just raw wood out of the scrap pile and made this one. Fully dimensioned, all sizes, including the blade. Let me show you how I did that. Several months we've introduced quite a few new techniques, both to you in the audience and to me personally. A lot of new things that we've got to try, and you know, learning skills is one thing, but until you actually put it to use, I guess it gets a lot more fun after you're actually making things. And making shop fixtures, shop tools, I think is a great way to practice because one, you're using scrap wood, so usually it's sunk cost already, and two, it is, you know, if you mess it up, no big deal. So it's just a great opportunity to practice. So we're going to start off by squaring off this piece here. Again, this just came out of the scrap bin. Has some pretty gnarly saw marks on there, and not sure that it's square. So take a couple of passes there. That's now pretty smooth. Check it for squareness. And I'm actually surprised at how square that turned out. But let's just take a couple more passes just to get a little bit more of this roughness out. Nice curls coming off there. And nice and square, nice and square. So next thing we want to do is mark out to rip out the stock that we're going to need for the base. So if we go back to our model, this is about probably 1 inch wide. So we'll set it for that. Again, you know, make it whatever you want. I'm just going to do approximately that 1 inch. Okay. Make sure you're going against your reference side. Oh. Go across the top there. And let's go ahead and take our chisel and just deepen that ever so slightly to give us a bit of a knife wall to hopefully guide our saw a little bit better. So we started out by doing some edge planing. That was one of the earliest skills that we learned. All right. And go ahead and that's 3 inches, 3 1/4 inches. So let's, why don't we take it to 3 1/2? Well, now you're probably asking yourself, you know, how can you know, what do you do if you don't have a square? Well, that's a good question to which I don't have a really good answer. All right. Come in here, we've got our depth marked, and so let's start with a 10-inch saw, and that actually should allow us to get all the way down to depth. Pull out our bench hook, cross cut it, and we'll take our cross cut saw. Cross cut, man, see we got just a little bit left to go. So let's come in from the other side and take that little piece off. All right, now that we got that done, we'll put it back in the vise here. And we'll take out the number 5 again. And let's just clean that up. I'm actually going to be surprised if it is square, and it is pretty square, but okay, that is square. And that is square. So those two square, it's squared that way. That it is not squared this way. We need to take just a little bit off this end here. And let's take out our full stroke. All right, so what the overalls, I don't know how to put this. The top and the bottom, those really don't need to be square. You can actually shape those. But what is critical is that these be parallel. So that's really what we want to check here, is to see if they are in fact parallel. Okay, looks good that way. And it looks good that way. All right, before I start working on it too much, I'm just gonna take these corners down ever so slightly, just to make it feel a little better in the hands. A lot of different ways you can do that. You can do it with a knife, with a chisel, block plane. But since I got the number 5 here with a pretty thin set blade, or the blade set pretty thin, we'll just go that way. All right, that feels much better. Next thing we want to do is the blade. Blade is way too thick. Sides aren't necessarily square. So let's first of all put that in the vise and Take a really light shaving there. Now we want to verify that that is perfectly flat. A lot of different ways you can do that. You can do it with a piece of wood that you know to be flat. You can do it. Okay, you can do it with a level, straight edge, anything that you want. All right, so this part that we just flattened is looking good. This part, this other side, it's not. We even have some sapwood there. You really need to take care of. See if that's now flat. And yes, that is flat. That is flat or straight. Now we want to do the same thing and check it for parallel. Now this was mostly parallel to begin with, so that makes it a lot easier. So that looks good. All right, but it's way too thick. It's closer to 3/8 of an inch. We want to get it down closer to 1/4 inch. But again, that measurement is not absolutely critical. What's more critical is that it's consistent, but we do need to get it down. So I've got this up against a bench dog. Long strokes. That way you keep it engaged. See? Get some of this stuff out of the way. We'll come over to the other side. Get some strokes going there. I actually love this Paduke when it's freshly planed. It's one of my favorite woods, based on the look and the way it finishes, but it can be a bit of a mess to work with. Just gonna get there. Let's come back over here and get a few more over on this. It's just too thin for me to entertain any kind of ideas about resawing. Okay. Let's see. This board is known to be a 1/4 inch thick, and we're almost dead on there, so that looks good. One thing about Paduke is it can leave you some rough stuff there. So you can actually come in here with a card scraper. Take some of that roughness out of there. All right, how long is the blade? How long should the blade be? This, oops, sorry about that again. This is entirely up to you and what you want. On this one, it's about 5 inches. I like that dimension, so let's see if we can go ahead and mark out about the same. Bench hook back out. We'll go ahead and cut that off at 5 inches. Cross cut saw. And there we go. All right, now that we have our piece of walnut, don't you think that walnut and Paducah is going to just make an excellent bit of a contrast, but not too much. Okay. All right, let's set our marking gauge at about 1/4 of an inch. All right, so that's the width, the thickness of the blade. Go against our reference surface, and well, how deep do I need to go? Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. We're going to let this blade, I don't know. Should we leave the blade flush like it is on there? That's raised up a little bit. That's what we'll do. Nick there, knife in the nick, present the square. All right, now we have our gauge line, our depth, and this going right here like this. I'm going to be on the inside. Rotate the work just a little bit, and now let's follow our line. Tend to stand in the light, casting shadows. All right, now okay, now we come in with our blade. We line that up on the saw mark. We bring our marking knife And we make a nick right there. Knife in the nick. All right. Knife in the nick. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come in here, instead of trying to do that, I'm going to set my marking gauge pin, set the pin in the knife mold. Check my pin. Yep, it's correct. So we're cutting straight across. It appeared that we were. Looks like we are down to our gauge line. Now it's time to come in with a nice narrow chisel. It should be about 1/4 of an inch. This is a little tricky here to hold that. Hang on just a second. We can actually rather than trying to hold the piece of wood and the chisel, we can just do one or the other. So I am away from my depth line. All right. Come back a little bit more, but still staying away from the line. You know, kind of act like you're cutting a mortise here. Because in effect, that's what you are doing. You're cutting a mortise. It's a new variety, a new take on the through mortise, I guess. Trying to be a little bit more precise than we were with the first bridle joints we did. All right, so what exercises have you recognized so far? For those of you that have been watching for quite a while now, do you recognize any? I might have to do something different there. I already lost one chisel on the floor. Just got lucky that it landed handle down. This is like the second time today. Yeah, see? A lot of the material just starts coming out. Ooh, well, that was much easier and better than I expected. So let's get that out of the way and check. All right, my bottom is pretty good, but not completely flat. Let's come in with our paring strokes. We can clean that out just a little bit. On this side, and now let's come in with our blade and see how that fits. Snug, but not terrible. Okay. So we can then come in with our known square and work on getting this squared up a little bit. All right, looking good, looking good. Now what I'm gonna do, instead of using wood glue, I am going to use 5-minute epoxy. And what that does is allow me to have a little bit more open time. If you start squeezing wood glue in there, actually seize up on you pretty quick. So I got lots of scrap wood around here. Let's see if I can pick one. I have to admit, I'm not too crazy about the smell, but seems to do the trick. So we're going to get in here, mix it up real good. All right, I'm only going to put moderate pressure on there right now because we need to check. You know, I checked it with the square, but things could have moved as I was putting it together. So the best way to do that is go with a known straight line. So this is a piece of plywood that still has the factory edge on there. So we're going to come in here with our pencil. We're going to hold this up just like we were checking square. All right. Now we come in on the other side, just like we were checking square. Okay, close, but not perfect. So that's why we haven't This epoxy actually gives us more time to check this. Ooh, let's do it one more time. And that looks good, so let's do the inside edge now. Let's see if... Nice parallel lines, I like that. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. And it's going to take about 5 minutes for the epoxy to set up. So we're going to let that set up, then we'll come back, put some finish on it. Alright, the finish I'm going to use on here is just my beeswax and mineral oil combination. You can put it on with either a rag or just your hands. Makes a great, easy to apply finish. Of course, it's not extremely durable, but anytime the wood starts to dry out, just put another coat on there. Low melting point, as you put it in, it actually liquefies, soaks in, and just gives a great patina to the wood and a layer of protection. So, homemade tri-square, fully dimensioned lumber. A lot of fun working our way through the different exercises of the Teacher's Handbook Sloyd. Till next time, friends, take care. God bless.